It's the Game Out Loud podcast coming to you with Rob, Jordan, and Dylan, and sometimes Colin too. It's everything about games you want to know. Thanks for listening to the show. It's the Game Out Loud podcast. Yeah, the Game Out Loud podcast.
Hello and welcome to the 186th episode of the Game Out Loud podcast, your weekly podcast for all things gaming. I'm your host for the week, Rob Peterson, and joining me this week, our guest, the rambunctious Ryan Debraal.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, as usual, is the delightful Dylan Smith. Sir.
Yay! What's going on, man? How you doing?
Good, good. You may have noticed that the format's a little different this week. That's because our technical director, Jordan, is not here. He will be back with us next week. He just had family visiting in town, so wasn't able to make it onto the show. And sorry, we are recording a day late. That is Dylan's computer's fault, so we'll get to that later after our big discussion about how consoles
a lot of
aren't
excuses right off the bat. This is what you need to know.
Yeah, consoles
Funny
aren't
thing happened on the way to the forum. I'll tell you what.
Oh, man. So anyway, Ryan, since we haven't had you on in a while, hi, dog, sorry, dog's back there. Why don't you tell us what you've been playing?
Sure, nothing too major. I'm not currently doing anything AAA, but I have picked up some pretty cool games. First of it, I guess I have to start off with Stardew Valley.
Nice.
I've always liked Harvest Moon in theory. I've never actually enjoyed playing any of the games, but I bought them. I've supported the series, and they all kind of stunk. So Stardew Valley is basically the good Harvest Moon. Somebody finally took the potential of Harvest Moon and actually made a good game out of it, and it is wonderful. I was on the fence for about 2 weeks. Not sure whether I was, going to buy it. It's $15, which isn't a whole lot of money, but unless you don't play it at all, then you just wasted $15. But sure enough, fell in love with it. Within an hour or two of playing it, it's the general Harvest Moon gameplay. You wake up in the morning bright and early, you go out, you fill up your watering can, and you water all your plants. When you get done with that, you have just enough time to go into town and start wooing the ladies by giving them gifts and talking to them.
This is every day for me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty much a life simulator. And if you got enough time, you head over to mine to start killing slimes. So, I mean, it's really just a metaphor for life.
Now, so I can get a picture in my head of what this is, because I have never even heard of these games.
Really?
There are segments of gaming that just for some reason have completely passed me by. What's the Nintendo, farming one?
Well, there's Harvest Moon, and then there's Rune Factory, and then I believe Nintendo tried to make their own variant called Fantasy Life on the 3DS.
Okay, that might be the one I was thinking of.
There might be actually one more. But yeah, Harvest Moon is the most famous one, and that's the one this one's gameplay is modeled after. And if I were to describe it, I would call it a 16-bit, top-down, Zelda-style Link to the Past movement system.
Okay.
So tile-based graphics, But yeah, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's kid-friendly. It'll sync. I've sunk at least 40 hours into it. Only I haven't made it to fall yet. I've planted my apricots and apple trees, waiting to harvest those in the fall. I'm growing melons right now. I've got several shucks or whatever of corn growing, and I'm trying to woo the lovely Penny. She's the local school teacher.
That I guess that sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things. Actually, I had a friend who asked me. We were actually playing another game. It's like, what is this Stardew Valley you're playing? It's like, okay, let me load it up for you. It's like, can you see the screen? It's like, yeah, I can see the screen. It looks like a Nintendo game. It's like, yeah, watch this. Okay, you wake up at 7 a.m. You watch the news. You go outside. You fill your watering can. You pour the water on the thing. Okay, now that you're done with that, you run over the town. You give Penny a poppy flower because she likes poppies. Then you run over here. Then you go over here. Here it's 3:30. Okay, this guy's coming out of his house. You just you memorize all these different things where everyone's gonna be at any time of the day, just so you can catch them and say hi to them, because it's kind of a numbers game.
So it's like Groundhog Day. It sounds like almost.
Yeah, it is, but it's on a 7-day cycle instead, barring rain, and 7-day cycle per season. So yeah, at 9:30 you want to be here so you can say hello to that person while on your way to here, so you can pick up coral off the beach while you're on the way here, so you can say hi to this person, and try and do all this stuff in a day to make the most out of the day, because it is really a numbers game. Every time you give somebody a gift, you get plus 20 arbitrary heart points. Every time you miss saying hello to them today, you lose -2. You need X amount of heart points to go up in heart levels to unlock heart events, which are funny little skits that happen, which show you that your intimacy is growing with an individual. But yeah, I love it a lot, and for anybody who wishes Harvest Moon was as good a game in reality as it is in their heart, I would definitely recommend it.
All right. Anything else you've been playing?
I know I'm going to get a hiss and a boo out of this, but that friend I told you about, he asked me about Stardew Valley just as we were finishing a session of Aliens, Colonial Marines.
Out. Out.
Yep. And I, like you and many other people, were day one buyers of that game. And 10 hours later, I had
day one. Yeah, day one players as well.
That's
day one
right.
Finishers.
Yep. And yeah, at the time, the total janky alien AI and like the obviously questionable like reduction in graphical fidelity, I was kind of pissed about that too. I didn't hate it as much as other people. I'm just kind of like I'm a huge Aliens fan, so I'm pretty forgiving when it comes to that. But let 2 years pass by, and it's $5 now on almost anywhere. Every other day it's still on sale for about $5. It's a decent co-op adventure. I mean, you'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be, depending on how often you've tried to look for a campaign, a first-person shooter or third-person, whatever, some sort of action-oriented game with a co-op campaign. They really don't do it very often. I mean, Half-Life doesn't have it. Crisis doesn't have it. Yeah, the only games that seem to have it are one-offs like Dead Space 3 or Lost Planet or Aliens Colonial Marine, all of which in that single breath are like notoriously not very good games. Yeah. So
I mean, there are some good ones. Halo comes to mind, but not on the PC.
Oh yeah, see that we were PC only, so.
Dylan was PS4 only yesterday. But
really? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I will say, even though I hated that game, probably worth $5.
Oh yeah, I think that's it's not quite good enough for the box right there. It's not a quote good enough for the box, but it's accurate. You've got $5. Aliens, Colonial Marines will scratch your itch.
Yeah. Did you play Isolation? You did, didn't you?
I did. I bought it for $20 on one of the Steam sales, and I played it for a little while, and honestly, it just kind of bored me. When that alien showed up, everybody raved about how smart that AI was, and I noticed the thing drops out of the ceiling and then paths around, and you just like walk behind it. You just walk behind it. It doesn't like look over its shoulder real quick or anything like that. It's not that smart. In fact, sometimes it's just total BS. I remember one time oh my god, and I scrambled, and like, he got a little close, and I ran down the hall, down another hall, through another hall, jumped into a locker and hid there. And I thought it was fine. And then about 20 seconds later, the thing had like a psychic premonition or something, and boop, 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 pathed right to my door, swung it open, and double-mouthed me, or second-mouthed me. And it's like, what is that? You had no way you could know that, So this whole AI thing is bullshit. It just basically is a dumb idiot until suddenly it becomes like momentarily omnipresent or whatever you call it, where you know everything, So it's just a roll of the dice, Thank you. I'm interested.
Yeah, I didn't play very much of it because I was playing it in VR, and
oh wow,
yeah, that sounds really cool. That sounds really cool, but it was never actually officially supported for it. So when you would orient your view, it would allow you to fuck it up horizontally. So it would take forever. Otherwise, the floor would be like crooked, because when you reset your orientation in 3D space, it was changing it relative to where the floor is too. So I'd be standing up trying to play it, and the floor would be crooked, and I'd be walking around getting super like motion sick. So
do you mean like when you're on a ramp, you're like on a roller coaster going uphill or something?
Well, when you're on a flat, the whole world seems tilted because your point of view wasn't oriented correctly.
Oh, okay, got it. So
like
yaw pitch wasn't at exact zero.
Exactly, yeah.
Gotcha.
So in an optimized VR game, it
roll.
won't let you get that out of whack.
Yeah,
when you reorient, it just replaces you on certain axes and not other ones. I don't know which one's which for how that gets fucked up, but it made it almost impossible for me to play. So once I got sick of doing that, I just kind of forgot about the game. But I would like to go back and check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a perfectly quality game, but I mean, it wasn't the same as like a SOMA or obviously a Dark Descent, Amnesia. I mean, it didn't make me afraid in that way. It just made me like anxious. Like, I wish this was over. I wish I had a gun.
Now, do you want to talk at all about SOMA, since you played that? I don't think you talked about that on the show.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, it's actually been a little bit of time, but boy, that was money well spent. I think that one I paid almost full price for, but I mean, I couldn't get it out of my head. Like, the trailer alone was like, okay, what is this? It's like some barnacle-encrusted, dark tunnels, subaquatic, mental horror show, and when it first started, I was worried that it wasn't that scary, because the first, like, lumbering bad thing comes around, and they're throwing up shaders on your screen. It's all like shaky and weird. It's like, I'm not afraid. I've been through this before. I know what the deal is, But after a while, it begins to creep into your psychology. I mean, the game becomes less about jump scares, which was, I mean, everybody remembers the water section of Amnesia. That is horror. That is scary no matter who you are. But after a while, SOMA starts like creeping into your psychological, like, what does it mean to be a person? And I mean, I guess you have to be open to it. Most people be like, this is dumb, whatever. I mean, I'm gonna go, play Call of Duty or whatever. But if you let it infect you, it's, see how I went there? It's actually really an incredibly artistic game, as long as being terrifying too. I mean, there was some scary stuff at the end. That like weeping mother thing. That made me downright uncomfortable, to where it's just like, I can't do this. Can't do this right now.
Yeah, there was one section that was so scary. I wish I could describe it, because, I mean, all the encounters boil down to, the part with the really scary thing in the underwater base?
Mm-hmm. I think
that terrifying.
Yep. But, it was interesting that they had multiple different monsters, and I don't think they ever repeated themselves once. So as you got to another section, some other thing would be the antagonist, I guess. The hunter, the hunter-killer. The scariest one for me, other than that crying female, was definitely there was an astronaut late in the game in like this grid. Like the whole thing was like a grid, so like he could come at you at any angle.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Oh, and it was it upset me, because it's like, this is too scary. You couldn't track the thing, because it was basically like a Zelda 1 dungeon, north, south, east, west. You could come from anywhere, and to get, and no matter how far you run away, it's always a right angle, right angle path right to you. As a grid system. So yeah, that was an upsetting game, totally worthwhile, and makes you question the nature of existence, which you don't get that all the time.
Yeah, not super often. Yeah, I really like that. I was super happy with that game. Maybe a little bit too much monster. Yeah,
they did a plugin or a mod or something. You know where I'm going with this, where they actually removed the ability to die, and the game becomes more of a kind of a psychological, what do they call them, a walking simulator, like Dear Esther or something. So yeah, if you're not into the jump scares or restarting, that's also an option.
Yeah, and it's worth it either way, because the writing's really good.
Yeah, I thought so too.
Sweet. Well, anything else?
No, I don't want to eat up too much time. I think that's. I will say I have started playing Elder Scrolls Online. I got a cheap version of it, and so did my friend. I don't have an opinion yet. I think that's another one of those games that day one everyone buys it, says nope, this ain't Skyrim, and then dismisses it. But I think there might be something there because I'm how some games are like perfect in your mind, because you haven't played them so long. That's how it is for me in Asheron's Call. It was my first MMO, and the thing I always loved about it was the ability to pick a direction, go in that direction, and discover things. And you have not gotten that in an MMO since, frankly. I mean, maybe in Star Wars Galaxy, I guess that one was a lot more open. But I mean, WoW and even Guild Wars 2, it's just here's a little sandbox, your themed sandbox, But yeah, ESO started up. Walked in another direction, never hit a wall. The only wall I hit was the freaking ocean,
Sweet, yeah, that's on my bucket list somewhere to check out, but I don't know when I'm going to get to it. But I have heard, pretty good things that don't let the initial review scare you off.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, Dylan, sir.
What up?
What have you been playing?
Well, not a whole lot. I've been doing the whole do things outside of my apartment game, like hang out with people.
That'll catch up with you.
Yeah. So, no, I've just been working a lot. I did help with something at the church I go to. We had a youth lock-in, so I got locked into the church from like 6 p.m. to 8 a.m. the next day. So that was, it was fun, but it's a whole huge...
Yeah, what they didn't tell you is they're locking you in with a serial killer.
Well, it's funny because if you think about it, I'm the only one that that has made it out so far.
That's true.
Would you like to play a game?
No, I've been playing plenty of games. No, that's, what little time I've had, I've gotten into NBA 2K16 again and The Division, just kind of inching along in that. But it's funny that Ryan mentioned Stardew Valley because I can't even get mine to play anymore. I've played it.
Yeah, you said that.
Like 4 times, and then now it just every time it boots up, it's a black screen. I hear the birds chirp, but nothing happens. No matter I hit any button, I wait forever. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, maybe if it's got like a config file, maybe you can tweak it to do full screen windowed, because that's usually the problem with some games is you try and do that full screen, it doesn't do the swap over. Do you use 2 monitors?
Nope.
Oh, I don't know. I
don't know. It used to start on full screen, and then when this problem started, it started opening in windowed. And I was like, why is this? But then I can't get in the game to change the settings or anything. I can't.
Right, yeah.
You try Alt Enter?
Yes. Right. I tried that, and moot point, doesn't do anything. So, other than that, though, it's been, what little time I've had has been neat, I guess. Basketball and the pseudo post-apocalyptic Manhattan, right? I guess you could call it apocalyptic, couldn't you?
Oh yeah, it's definitely apocalyptic. It's if I understand
everybody died.
Pandemic, right?
Yeah. No, it's a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I just wish I had more time on my hands to play, and I never do. So.
Maybe that's for the best, because I've been interested. I've looked into it a whole lot, and it seems to follow very much along the lines of, and I don't want to offend anybody, but like the Destiny crowd, where like a lot of apologists, they're like, yeah, it's a boring game that's full of garbage, but I just can't stop playing it. It's like, well, that doesn't sound good. It's like, is it got good shooting? Oh no, headshots don't do anything, and all the enemies are bullet sponges, but I just can't stop playing it. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'll wait for my $20 winter, whatever next Steam sale slashes the price on it.
Yeah, The Division's definitely a better game than Destiny.
Okay.
Yes. Very much so.
Have you tried it, Rob, or do you have it?
Yeah, I've got it.
Oh, you do?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, we've played. We should play some more.
Minute.
But they just get the fundamentals down better. The shootings, it's like really good third-person shooting. There is a story. It's not like the half-assed, go on the internet and read the lore thing that Destiny did. And the world they build is way cooler than Destiny's, and it's a legit open world. There's places you can go to explore, and there's little hub bases and people to talk to and NPCs and stuff. So it just feels like it had a lot more effort put into making not just the game part and not just the grind, but all the other game world stuff that you expect in a single player game. They got that stuff in there.
I'm gonna drop the lights, get a little. Oh, that's too dark. I thought there would be a happy medium someplace. So I'm like glowing like a golden god over here.
Oh, you are a golden god, so it makes sense.
Wait, I was gonna say, you're not a golden god?
I know, look like I'm about to go supernova.
Super Saiyan, yeah.
Okay. I'll just lean in.
There you go.
Whoa, hey.
All the better to see you.
Sweet. Well, I guess we are on to me. So a couple things. I got a new phone this week.
Oh, so did I.
You got the same thing, didn't you?
Yeah, I think we did. Yep. Yes, 7.
Yeah, it's funny. So I got it, and I was like, I wonder if I made the right decision. And then Consumer Reports came out and was like, this is the greatest phone that has ever been reviewed by anyone.
Wow, really?
Time. So, I mean, who knows what that means? But I really like the phone, and I got a Gear VR headset for it. So I've been messing around with that, and I got to say, compared to my DK2, it is surprisingly excellent VR.
Cool.
The screen is actually much higher resolution and much better looking. There's a lot less, fewer like weird coloration artifacts, and you can actually read small text, and watching movies is actually worth doing.
Oh, really?
Comes with a really cool theater app where you can sit in a full-size theater, or there's like the Ant Theater, where you're the size of an ant and you're looking up at a giant phone that someone's dropped as your screen.
That's pretty cool.
There's a theater on the moon, and then there's one called The Void, which is just a black room. And on that one, you can actually reorient the screen anywhere you want, so you can lay in bed and watch movies on an IMAX-sized screen.
Oh, wow. That sounds pretty cool.
It is really cool. And on the S7, I've had no overheating issues. I've even plugged in and sat down, and I watched a whole 2-hour movie just laying in bed. And like the graphics are pretty good in the apps. There's a really well-integrated app store that just controls with your head movement. Like you look around, and then there's a little touchpad on the side of the device that you tap to control. And then you can also hook game controllers up to it, which I haven't done yet. So I haven't tested many games because most games do require that. But I'm really impressed with it. It's good VR. The only thing it's missing that the DK2 can do, besides obviously playing PC games, is positional tracking. So you can look all around 360 degrees. That is tracked, but you lean in, lean out. There's no translation.
We had a conversation about that the other day. You mentioned some interesting work by Carmack, right?
Yeah, they're working on it. In fact, it sounds like it's going to have positional tracking probably with just a software update. So that's pretty sweet. But yeah, really impressive. I mean, you expect the mobile VR to be kind of the redheaded stepchild one, and it's not that at all. It's probably actually the most promising one as far as making this technology mainstream. So very happy with that. And the other thing I picked up that I'm really excited about is the Day of the Tentacle remaster from DoubleFine.
Yeah, that came out of left field for me. I didn't know it existed until I saw, I believe, Jordan was playing it. It's like, what?
Yeah, and they did a nice job on it. They redid all the art, so it stays in the same art style. It's just not all pixelated. A lot of people have been complaining about that, but I think it looks great. It really looks how I remember the game looking.
Oh yeah, right. That can be an interesting thing to go back. It's like, is this what I thought it looked like? So that's nice. So they did actually update. So it's basically Day of the Tentacle HD. Yes.
So and they redid all the art, but it's just like the Monkey Island one, except a little more literal. But it's running on all, like, you can switch back at any time. Everything matches up 1-to-1. They didn't.
Oh, really?
It's not a full remake. They just went over, cleaned up the interface. The new interface is really nice. It's so much better than the old ugly scum interface with like all the things you can do and buttons listed at the bottom of your screen. So I'm super happy with that. The game's really funny. It's classic Tim Schafer, LucasArts, like clever puzzle design. It takes place in 3 different time eras, and then there's a portable toilet that you can use that's a time traveling toilet, so you can flush objects to people in different times to try to help them solve the puzzles. So you're working as 3 different characters on 3 different time levels and trying to figure out how to, something. I'll just make up a puzzle because I don't want to spoil any of them. But like a statue needs to move in the future, so you chop down a tree that's right next to where the statue is going to be, so that they move it 2 feet to the left or something.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
So
I've actually not played it. I mean, Maniac Mansion. I don't know if is it a direct sequel or just kind of. It is.
Yep. In fact, it contains the entirety of Maniac Mansion. You can actually go up to a computer in the game.
Oh.
You fire it up, and it pulls up the entire Maniac Mansion game.
The original version of it, like. Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, because I used to play Maniac Mansion on the NES, which I guess everyone says is the inferior version. But to me, I mean, it was incredible. And I mean, it was probably one of the first games where I ever played and like the soundtrack. Like, I can still hear that soundtrack in my head,
Yeah.
So it really is excellent. And obviously the humor is timeless, So.
Yeah. In this game, so you're Bernard. I don't know if you remember him from Maniac Mansion. But he's one of the main characters, and Hoagie and Laverne, I think is her name.
I
don't remember if those 2 are in Maniac Mansion or not, but Bernard definitely is.
Yeah.
But super funny. If you like the Monkey Island games, I would say this is even a step up from those, and I do love those games. Grim Fandango, all the almost said Disney. They own LucasArts now.
LucasArts, yeah.
All the old LucasArts point-and-click stuff. It's my favorite of all of them. So,
cool.
Yeah, definitely check that out. That's all I've got. So with that, I think it's time for Extra Points, the part of the show where we talk about the book, movie, TV show, or other piece of non-video game media that we were into this week.
I was not told about this, but I already have something.
Okay. Have you not done the show? Has it been that long?
No, I think it's been that long, but I think it was a new feature the last time I was on.
Okay.
And suddenly I had to gain outside interest and stuff like that, and become a more well-rounded person. So it was a pretty low blow.
or say pass. I don't do anything that's not play video games by myself. So we're just gonna have to skip me. Dylan, we'll start with you. So we'll give Ryan some time to think.
Okay. So like I said, I haven't had a lot of time do much. What little spare time I have
Think fast, Ryan.
Oh, I know what I'm going to talk about.
I downloaded onto my phone the Kindle app, and then I bought Neil Stephenson's Anthem, or however you want to say it, and Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six, and the Fellowship of the Ring, the Lord of the Rings, the whole thing, The Hobbit, the whole thing. One huge compendium, so I've got plenty to read. So I've been reading what little time I have while I'm on the go. I've been reading books.
Cool.
And it's been awesome.
I haven't read Anthem, but I read Snow Crash and then quickly followed up by The Diamond Age. And both those books were just, so completely unique from each other, but both, I guess, they fall lately into the cyberpunk vein. I mean, Snow Crash definitely, but The Diamond Age,
definitely.
So amazing, the originality, it was nothing things I'd never even considered. Tropes that don't even exist in sci-fi,
Yeah, and that's what I love about Stevenson is I've said it before about him. He is a breath of fresh air in the literary world, for me at least. And I would recommend, if you haven't yet gotten the chance to, check out Cryptonomicon by him as well.
Yeah, I understand that's his most popular book, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it's one of them, if not the.
Okay.
But it's a good one. I mean, there's a reason why it's the most popular.
That's the one that takes place over centuries, though, isn't it?
Kind of. It's a little has to do with what is it? Hacking, gold, World War II Enigma code. That's kind of hard to. You just have to read it.
Okay.
But there's a lot to it, but it's all one big ball of yarn. Once you finally connect the dots, you realize you've just scribbled in a circle. So it's actually pretty cool. I loved it. It was a great book.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, still on my to-read list. But
gotta get on it, man. Gotta get on it.
Yeah.
Get on it, dang on it.
All right, Ryan. So what you got for us?
All right. I too have been reading books. I'm actually at the last not chapter but act or whatever you call it of Firestarter by Stephen King. I'm a big Stephen King fan. I'm basically in the process of reading all his books, interdispersed with some cyberpunk stuff like that, whatever I like. But it's better than I expected. It's excellent. I don't think I've actually run into a Stephen King book that I haven't enjoyed. I mean, I can't think of one maybe It, but that I don't want to get sidetracked. But Firestarter is very interesting because I never watched the movie, but anytime there is a Stephen King movie, you can't help but have the imagery. Gets like injected into your subconscious. I mean, we all know exactly what Pennywise the Clown looks like because Tim Curry from the 1990s TV movie. So I was expecting something very specific when it came to Firestarter, but what I got instead was actually delightfully surprising. I expected just a lot of pyrotechnics, but in fact it's almost the exact opposite, where this little girl, she has the ability to start fires with her mind, and that's the last thing she wants to do. So it has a lot to do with I guess the things that hold people back. The locks that we set up for ourselves, that society sets up for ourselves, that our parents set up for ourselves. Don't do this and don't do that. This is bad and this is bad. So it's actually really interesting. And the whole book basically takes place. 1/3 of it is basically introduction. The rest of it basically takes place after they've lost. They've been captured. Her and her father have been captured. They're under lock and key. It's a story about imprisonment, more than an on the run kind of story, So it's all kind of like hitting a head right now, coming to a head, and I'm enjoying it a lot. And yeah, I'm glad I started it. Like any book, it's kind of hard to get off the ground, if it doesn't hook you right away. But I'm glad I stuck with it.
When did that come out?
Oh boy, I don't know. That's an early one. I mean, it's not like Stephen King's first round of books, like a Carrie or a
But it was in the first 300 or 400 that he wrote.
Yes, I believe it's in the first dozen. It's I can look it up, but yeah, it's pretty old. It's one of the earlier ones. And Stephen King, as he, I don't know if I want to say evolves as a writer, but 1980, so before I was born. As he evolves as a writer, his characters and his prose kind of change, and this is like the classic Stephen King this is what people expect Stephen King is, because it always has, at this time he had young children, so he wrote books about young children, the It's and the Stand By Me's and the stuff like that. And then as he grew older and his children actually went out into the world, he started writing books about being an old man whose children have left him, So in a way, a lot of these books, are semi-biographical, semi-autobiographical, as he himself, grows older. His stories change.
And sometimes even makes cameos in his own books.
Yeah, yeah. Less about that said, the better, though.
Sweet. Well, I will jump over to myself at this point. I guess I'll check back in on Star Wars Rebels. I talked about this probably 6 months back. Still watching the show. Do I still recommend it? I was a big fan of the Clone Wars. I watched that for the first time last year. Like everyone else, I got really swept up in the Star Wars hype and figured I'd check in on what had happened in Star Wars in the 10 years since I'd given a shit about it.
Right.
And yeah, Clone Wars was really good, and it got better as it went along.
Yeah, oh, definitely. I fell in love with it.
Yeah. Have you watched Rebels at all?
I'm not entirely caught up, but I'm caught up to the point where basically Force Awakens actually launched, and then they had like a week or two off, and I stopped there. So I haven't caught up completely, but I'm familiar with. I guess I don't want to spoil anything for anybody else, but being
Back.
the character that comes back. I was very glad that character came back because it started as a terrible character in the first show. It's like, well, that's the weakest character, and then suddenly became the very best character in the entire series by far. And then sure enough, they're back.
Yeah, and this week is the big episode where
it is.
That all comes to a head, or at least it's being telegraphed as though it's coming to a head.
Oh, okay.
So I'm looking forward to that. But man, like where you left is where the show got shitty.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Since then, there's been one incredible episode, like as good as anything from the Clone Wars. Best half-hour television ever, and the rest is just filler, filler after filler after filler, and it really. I mean, I don't have anything against kid shows. Obviously, I watched the Clone Wars. I really, really liked it. But this season in particular feels more like a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah, I suppose they can't help it, though.
Yeah, because they doubled the episode count for season 2, and you could tell they had to scramble to get enough stories to fill that out. So what do? You end up falling back on stock storylines.
Yeah.
So that's been kind of a bummer, but I'm really excited about the 2-parter this week. Some characters that have been gone for a while appear to be coming back from the marketing, and it looks really good, and it's been set up pretty well by the last few episodes. So looking forward to that, but overall I'd say season 2 is a pretty big disappointment so far.
Well, that's too bad. Yeah, I actually just finished watching The Punisher last night, the second season Punisher on Netflix. The Daredevil.
I was going to say,
actually, I just started that.
Oh, really? Spoiler, The Punisher's in it. Sorry.
No, I knew.
By which I mean he steals the show. Like, after a while, I'm like, fuck this Daredevil. I want to see The Punisher. They did such a good job casting The Punisher. It's Shane from The Walking Dead. The one that was sleeping with, what's-his-face, wife.
I haven't seen... I watched, like, the first half season of that show. But I know the actor. I've seen him.
The actor, the actor. He's perfect
he
for it.
Looks like him.
He does. That lantern jaw. Like G.I. Joe kind of like character. He just it's raw. It's just so raw. Every scene with him in it is great. And then they move on to all the other characters. It's like, oh, I'm gonna get back to Frank Castle. They actually do a really good job of humanizing him too.
Good, yeah. Season 1 of Daredevil was awesome. The only reason I haven't watched season 2 is because I haven't watched Jessica Jones yet, and I know it's Marvel, so you got to go in order.
There are light, what do you call it, cross promotions or whatever like that. Like they mention, one or two things from it. And Jessica Jones is decent too. I mean, really, when you set the bar at Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or whatever, is that what it's called? If that's what you're trying to get over, that's pretty low. That's a broomstick on the ground. At least I think it is. I think that show is like, I could barely watch the first one when they had a flying car. It's like, we're only a flying car in the first episode. Like, you're not even gonna, like, edge me into this. I'm just supposed to buy that all this is happening with the unlimited cash resources of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, my wife and I watched the whole show, and I don't know how we got through it. We both were like, I don't know, it was one of those stupid things where it's like, I know this show's stupid, but I kind of want to keep watching it, and that was my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. experience. And I'm gonna go back to it.
That's good. I mean, I'm halfway through season 2 of it, but when Lucy Liu's in it and stuff like that. Is it Lucy Liu? Yeah, I think that's her name. No, not Lucy Liu.
No.
Who's Xena? Xena played by
Lucy Lawless.
Lucy Lawless, thank you. Where they're throwing in the, what do you call it, the genre actors, I guess you call them.
Yeah, I'd say so. And what's his name? Twin Peaks guy.
Yeah, once you're in one of these shows, you can go on any of these shows.
Kevin Sorbo.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in it yet, but we'll get there.
No, but they'll run through the list. They'll have to have like Rodney McCabe from Stargate Atlantis, and then they'll have Michael Dorn, Worf from from STG and Deep Space Nine. But yeah, I mean those are perfect binging shows. I mean, again, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't my cup of tea, but Daredevil 1 was awesome. Jessica Jones was a bit of an acquired taste. It's almost a better show with the drink in your hands, I'll say. But Daredevil 2 is decent. I mean, it's totally watchable. What more can you ask for a free show on the internet?
Yeah. Yeah, and if it's smart that they're tying these together because you have one really good one like Daredevil, then the rest of them just need to be pretty good for people to watch them. So I gotta watch those guys in. So
they only have to bring the game like 1/3 of the time.
Yeah, and they're doing that with the Marvel movies too, in my opinion. But that's a discussion for another time. So for now, we're going to go ahead and jump over to our topic. We're going to do a little bit of a mishmash today. We want to talk about the Oculus VR launch and just kind of the future of VR, at least for this year in general, the first gen of VR, and also talk about the PC. We did an episode that I wasn't on about consoles and the future of consoles, and just want to see if Dylan's maybe updated his opinion on that at all in light of recent events, and just kind of talk about what a pain in the ass PCs can be. So, but first, let's start off with VR. So, the Oculus launched, which is a strong word for what they did. Really, it's actually kind of disappointing what they did. So in early January, they hyped everyone up. They announced a release date because they kept saying, Q1 2016, Q1 2016, Q1 2016. Okay, so they announced March 28th, which is like the last or the second to last
day of Q1.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. Whatever. Then the pre-orders go live. Their website's totally fucked up. So tens of thousands of people, if not hundreds of thousands. Yeah. So people they're on in the first minute, and tons of people get a March shipping confirmation, including myself. And then in the run-up, it started getting scary because none of us were getting updates on when the shipping was going to happen. It was just kind of radio silence. And then last week, all of a sudden, it became apparent that only Kickstarter backers were shipping on the 28th, and not even all of them. So not a single pre-order shipped on launch day. So kind of weird, and we don't really even know when the pre-orders are going to ship now, let alone the rest of the Kickstarter backers. So they're saying Wednesday, which as of this recording is tomorrow, so maybe we'll start to see some of those go live, but it's looking like I'm going to be lucky to get into April, and definitely not March, even though I was in a March date. So, I mean, whatever, it's fine. I have 2 VR headsets, not the end of the world. It's just kind of like, come on, guys, day one VR, get your ducks in a row. Let's. People are pissed about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
But as far as the hardware itself, the reviews are in. They are very positive, I would say, from the gaming community, and pretty baffled from more mainstream publications like.
They don't know how to cover it.
New York Times did a big thing that was just. I mean, it was so funny. The New York Times piece almost comes off as like a parody if you're a gamer. It was like this technology requires archaic technology like Windows and a PC and a mouse. And it's like, oh my god, so stupid. But it is interesting.
Tongue in cheek or something.
What's that?
They're attempting to be tongue in cheek or something like that.
Well, it's just it was written by this really hipstery New York Times writer, I don't understand why, it couldn't be wireless and just stupid stuff. But it has just been interesting to see the reaction of people to this, people who haven't been following VR. It's like it has been very mixed.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't follow when it was coming out. I was actually surprised. I knew it had launched when I show up at a website and the headline is Oculus Rift VR or Oculus Rift, and excuse my language, but this shit is legit. was the headline? It's like, oh.
Was that The Verge or who did that? I read that one.
I want to say Polygon or IO9 or Kotaku or one of those. One of the big ones. But yeah, that was my first inkling of like what the review was, and then I went to one of my favorite YouTubers, and he's like, doing an unboxing of it. It's like, oh, okay, this actually happened, while I was asleep, and they have like footage of the guy, and he's like playing Eve Valkyrie, and he's like, whoa, this is a dream. He's like a child on Christmas morning, a 20, 30-year-old man just like giddy about like the possibilities. I mean, it seems like the hype was worth it. I mean, the only roadblock being the price tag. The buy-in.
Yeah, and that was a big point of contention. And I also think that a lot of the negative reactions have come from people who've been using VR, whether they had a DK2 or a Gear VR or whatever for the last while, because the jump isn't very big. More than being a big presentation and technology jump from those, which it is a little bit. It's better in every way, but it's really what separates the consumer release from previous stuff is more about polish and experience. Like the software is all integrated. Everything just works when you put the headset on. It's comfortable and it brings you right into an interface. And it's not about the consumer release. Isn't like 5 times the resolution. You'll forget you're not in reality. It's like, yeah, it looks a little better. It's sharper. It's lighter. It's a refinement. So for the people who are giving the reaction that guy had seem to be the people who have not owned a VR headset, and this is their first entry point, which is going to be most people who buy it.
I mean, that's where I'm at, say VR virgin, I mean, I've never seen 3D outside of the world around me. So, I mean, I imagine it will be pretty shocking to suddenly have that ability, I mean, I have a Gear VR in the mail too. With that purchase of Samsung 7, there was a special promotion or whatever. Fill all these forms, send us your receipt, and we'll send you a Gear VR. So I'm looking forward to getting that in the mail. Check it out, see what that's all worth it. So I'm excited to hear that you can do stuff like watch a movie on it. I mean, it's just something that simple where you can actually lay in bed looking up as if a TV is strapped to your ceiling. That sounds like a pretty exciting future we're now living in, So.
Yeah, and it's day one of VR. It's just going to get better from here. Right? Soon we're going to have our hands fully tracked, and we're going to have.
It's funny you said it, day one of VR. It's like it was 2016. Now it's 0 VR.
2000 VR.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'm still very excited about the technology. It's just, I don't know. I was just on Reddit too much today, I guess. Just everyone on there was being such a fucking bummer about it, and that's where the big VR and Oculus forum is, and it's wearing me down. I'm refreshing my email, trying to see my shipping confirmation, and all I have are people like bitching and complaining about stupid shit with this headset.
So where do you actually don't know enough about this? I'm like the perfect person to sell this to. How do you get the games? How do I get Valkyrie once I have an Oculus Rift?
So if you pre-ordered it, comes with it.
Okay.
That promotion just ended, and they'll just send you a key, and then Oculus has a fully integrated store, just like a console would.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, there's pluses and minuses. You can play stuff that's not in the store. You just need to check a little tick box that says, like, I understand that this stuff is not. This stuff could make me throw up projectile vomit across my house because it has not been verified as being good by Oculus.
Right. It doesn't have to be licensed by Nintendo, sort of gold seal.
Exactly. Gotcha. So that's cool. Some people have been complaining that it makes you take a checkbox, but I think that's fair. It covers their ass and it still allows it to be an open platform if you want it to be. And then the Vive is just open. It's classic Valve.
I don't have a whole lot of faith or eagerness about that one. I mean, everything I hear about is just like, that's not the right way to do it. I mean, that's one where you actually have to like stand up and like move around the room, don't you?
Well, you can. It does everything the Oculus does, but it also does room scale now. Room scale on the Oculus they're being cagey about it, like, oh, we don't know, but of course they're going to implement it because it has the ability to do it. So that'll be
that's where all the little pimples it's got all over itself, right? All those little divots are like some sort of rangefinders, aren't they?
Yeah, so that tracks you in Z space, basically. Technically it tracks your translation, I guess, up, down, and in Z space. But that's useful even if you're sitting, because then if you lean in, if you're driving a car, you can lean in and read your gauges or whatever. But
it doesn't Oculus do the same thing?
No, that's what I'm talking about is the Oculus.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, the thing the Vive lets you do is it comes with 2 tracking well, they're not cameras, they're like lasers that bathe your room in laser light that your headset can read, that gives you a huge walkable space.
Mm-hmm.
The Oculus requires 2 cameras to do that, and the headset tracks absolutely fine. There's no issues with that at all. It's Oculus's motion controls that they're worried about tracking problems, because those also use the same camera system. So if you're standing in certain positions, that can be occluded, and then you lose tracking, which is kind of annoying. But I think the tracking loss is going to be edge cases. I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. Even my DK2 tracking camera, you see this room behind me? I've done room scale VR with a DK2 right here, and it works fine 99% of the time. And the consumer release Oculus is way better than that. So I'm not worried about it. But what is cool is the Vive's ecosystem, because it's tied in with Steam, and Valve's kind of spearheading it. It's just.
I mean, I don't know how much that like soothes me, because Valve also spearheaded the Steam controller and Steam Link and Steam boxes, and I don't give a crap about any of those things.
Yeah, but they all work, you know.
Do they?
I think that they do. Yeah, people seem to be happy with them. Dog, what are you doing? So we'll wait and see. I mean, I did go with Oculus just for a few reasons. Less screen door effect. You know, you don't see the pixels as well, and I just kind of had a little more faith in.
Yeah, I mean, it's been spoken about with hushed tones for 2-3 years now.
Right.
It's almost gained a religious following.
Yeah, but the more it comes out, the more it looks like the Vive is every bit as good of a headset. So,
is it?
And it comes with everything you need. It's more money too, but it does come with everything you need to do room scale right off the bat. So there are advantages to it. So yeah, I think they're both going to be really successful. But Dylan, we haven't heard much from you. What you've never done VR, so what do you think about it?
What is he doing over there?
There was something caught in my keyboard, and I was wondering what it was. I had just put it there, and I don't know what it was because I have nothing in my hands, and it just like landed there, and I was like, "What the heck is that?" So I started messing with it because there's nothing in here. So I was just like, "What in the world?" But no, I haven't done any VR at all. So, but Rob, I think is what you texted me that they had released the recommended specs for PCs for VR. Was it for the Oculus? I can't remember if it was for the Oculus or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was pretty much, Ryan, it was pretty much our computers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's pretty up. That's pretty up there. I mean.
Yeah. So I was excited because that means, yes, I'm in.
God, yeah.
But at the same time, then you look at that price tag, and I was just like, that's the biggest thing for me right now.
Mm-hmm.
$600 is nothing. That's more than my rent.
Oh, jeez, yeah. I mean,
Like,
that's what it comes down to: is
justify
can
that.
you justify it or not?
Exactly, and I can't. Not right now.
I think, I said somebody asked me about it, and I said to him, "It's like, yeah, I'm totally gonna buy one as soon as I try it at Best Buy." Just like a 3DS, if you can't experience it, in real life. To get, like, what is a 3DS? You remember when the 3DS came out, they're like, it's 3D! It's like, that sounds like a real huge gimmick. And until you could actually, like, experience it, it's like, how is this even possible? So I'll wait for the, I don't know how they're going to do it at Best Buy. I hope they have, like, some sort of, like, rub-down station, so I don't have to get
we can ask
pink eye from everybody.
I mean, you're getting a Gear VR. That'll let you know. The Gear VR is actually, with your phone, is higher resolution than the Oculus CV1.
Is it really?
Yeah, and it gets complicated because resolution is not the only thing that matters with VR by a long shot for quality. So picture quality is better on the CV1, but resolution, like actual pixels.
CV1, is that the consumer
the consumer version?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know the insider lingo.
Yeah, sorry.
I don't know. CV1, you're like,
I've been strapped into the Matrix
it's like the
for too long now.
DK2, but minus the RX4 and C.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, sorry, I'm a little sick. I got some shots yesterday, and I'm having a little bit of a weird reaction to them today. So, little out of it, if you can't tell. But yeah, no, like you're gonna get the Gear VR, dude. You'll know what VR is. I mean, just imagine that, but with a little less screen door look, and where you can lean in and out and and even lean down and look like up under stuff. It's just full range of view instead of just turning your head, and that's what it is.
Right.
So
I mean, the Oculus Rift is straight up 1080p, right? It's no more, no less.
it's more.
Oh, it is. I didn't realize that.
It's 1280
2480 by 1796.
It's
Somebody fact check me.
uh,
It also
well,
has
per eye. So there's two screens, one for each eye.
Oh, okay.
So each eye is
1240
something
by.
it's 2160 by 1200 for both screens. So whatever that divided vertically by 2 is, 1280 by 1200, I guess. I think if my math checks out. Per screen.
Per screen. I mean, I don't know how that translates.
Yeah, and it gets even weirder too because it's 90 hertz. So and then there's head motion.
Right. Oh, is that how they stop the motion sickness?
Yeah. And it also gives you kind of a resolution boost too. It's just temporal resolution rather than spatial resolution. Mm-hmm. So it does make the image look sharper actually. And say you're watching a movie in that's 30 frames per second. We'll just say 30 because the math lines up easier. Each frame displays 3 times, and you have a little bit of head movement. So you're actually seeing more pixels than the screen can display at once because of how much your head moved between those 3 frames displaying.
Okay.
Like, there's lots of weird things. Like it's hard to talk about quality with VR because the standards haven't been set yet for how we even talk about how good stuff looks.
It's uncharted territory.
Exactly. So it's kind of fun and interesting to follow all that stuff and try to figure out, it's like with a monitor you can pretty much say contrast ratio, okay, maybe there's no standards, but that gives you an idea, resolution. VR, it's like field of view. Well, what the fuck does that mean? How do you measure that? So there's lots of interesting tech stuff to hash out.
Cool.
But anyway, let's jump over to the second half of this topic, which is PCs fucking up. So, Dylan, what? Now, it's been a while since I listened to this. What was your kind of take on consoles last week when I was gone? Because I'm just curious.
I mean, they'll be around. I don't think that one or the other will take over, But each one has its place. Consoles do allow a, very rigid set of parameters within, wherein you can work. Whereas and then PC, sky's the limit, really. So between the two, just the versatility of each. I don't see, because of the niches or whatever you want to say, that they each have, I don't see one or the other dominating or taking over or, I just see it being a very way things are now, really.
Okay. I was hoping that you would come down hardline pro PC, because that would just be funnier.
Oh, sorry.
This discussion, but that's fine. So, I just want to talk a little bit about being a PC gamer and some of the frustrations that can come with that as far as getting your shit to work. Because
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead, please.
Oh, well,
I have plenty to say.
I know you have plenty to say, for sure, but that's actually been a lot of what I've been dealing with, and I think I incorporated in your story too, but while that was happening, another thing was happening too. I mentioned earlier in the podcast that I was going to start playing ESO, Elder Scrolls Online, with a friend. We got a pair of CD keys and we installed the game. Biggest damn install I've ever had. 47 gigabytes out of the box. Which
holy crap.
That lets you know how open world this thing is. Because I don't even think Witcher was that much. And that thing's pumping graphics and content. But so after a quick 47 gigabyte download over the course of 2 days, I started up, everything's going great, I cranked the thing on max. It's beautiful at 60 frames per second locked in, everyone's working. My friend, unable to initialize renderer right out of the gate. What do you mean unable to initialize renderer? Try and Google it. It's Elder Scrolls, unable to initialize renderer. It's are you talking about Skyrim? It's no, I'm not talking about Skyrim. It's you must be talking about Skyrim. It's no, Elder Scrolls, not Skyrim, minus Skyrim, plus renderer. It's days. What ended up happening was days and days worth of configuration. I ended up having to take the video card out of my old computer, bring it down to the UPS store, ship it to him. He got his friend to come over to install the video card, and then they actually had to go and install Windows 8.1, then force it up to Windows 10, and then format his hard drive to get Windows 10 on there because they had run out of room. They'd run out of hard drive room. And finally, when all that stuff got installed, 47 gigs was on a separate partition. Didn't work anymore. The launcher didn't work. It's like, oh, I know what it is. It's because it's a new operating system. You don't have the firewall rules. So reinstall the client, overwrite the old client so that it pings up the do you want to allow this firewall rule in here, overlaid that on top of the existing installation, ran a repair on the thing because we'd been through all this stuff, hit start, it worked, it was midnight, I'm like, good night, and that was yesterday. Then I went to work today and I was exhausted all day, all to play one friggin' game on the computer. With that said, screw consoles. Consoles are for noobs. I bought myself a PS4 to play Destiny, and the first thing I noticed when I turned on my PS4 is like, oh god, this looks like shit. Like I can't like say any more about it. I bought Witcher 3 before Destiny launched, and I bought Witcher 3, and Last of Us totally paid off. That was awesome. The only way it could have been a better game if it was on PC. For you people, is it? What do you mean?
I said can vouch. It looks amazing on PC.
I didn't even know they had it on PC.
Oh, you're talking about Witcher 3 or Destiny?
No, I'm talking about Last of Us. Witcher 3, I actually rebought it on PC.
Oh.
Looks amazing. Looks incredible. But yeah, I think both they have consoles and PC gaming have a lot they could learn from each other. And I don't think we're ever going to hit that happy medium. Consoles are always going to be there for people who just want to push a power button and play the game. Even though that isn't even true nowadays with day one patches and all that garbage, But PC gaming is just far and away so much more rewarding. I mean, everything about it. The only people who, I've got to firmly believe that the only people that aren't like staunch believers in the superiority of PC gamers are people that don't have a good computer. That's it. That's the only explanation. That's why you're defending your console, because you don't have a good computer.
Yeah, well, and I really like my PS4, and I get a lot of use out of it. My Xbox One, kind of dropped the ball on that one a little bit, especially with some of the core franchises like Halo. But I have had a lot of problems with my PC over the years. And my last one, which I never solved, I'll tell you guys my solution to it. You'll laugh your asses off. But for like a year and a half, I went through, in a year and a half period, I went through 5 hard disk drives.
Oh, I remember this, yeah.
I would buy one, put it in, it would work fine for a month, and then it would just die. And to this day, have not figured it out. I got a new motherboard. It must be the case. There must be something in the case that's like squishing them or doing something, because that's the only component I didn't replace while I was having this issue. So I'd order a different one. I'd put it in a different slot. I'd try this. I'd try that. I'd get new cables. I'd get a new power supply. Finally, I just said, fuck it. Bought 3 solid-state drives, and I just have a computer with 3 solid-state drives and 1 external USB 3 drive that I use for dumping storage stuff onto, and that was my solution. So, really stupid.
Yeah, no, they're a burden. They're like the. Trying to think of a good analogy. The only thing I can come up with is like the unwieldy horse. You know what I mean? It's beautiful, it's majestic, it's powerful, but it'll kick you in the head. That's a PC,
Yep, exactly. So, anyway, we don't need to get on that too much. I just wanted to talk a little bit about some of the downsides to it, because yes, the storefronts on PC are better, the graphics are better, the flexibility, the mods. It's an amazing time to be a PC gamer, the best time ever. So, great platform. Just know there can be some tinkering involved. So, thank you, Ryan, for coming on this week.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a good time.
Dylan, thank you as well.
Thank you so much. Always a pleasure, man.
And you, watchers and listeners, if you need to find us, you can email us at gameoutloudpodcast@gmail.com, or you can find us on Twitter at GameOutLoudcast. Sorry, I've been neglecting that a little bit. I've been very busy lately, and just much more busyness to come. You can also download weekly episodes at gameoutloudpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you, Ryan, for our new site update, by the way.
Yay!
That's really good.
No problem.
And we're on iTunes, we're on Stitcher, we're on all those places, and wherever you're listening to us or watching us from, subscribe. Helps us out. So thank you for doing that, and with that, we will see you next week.
All right.